This program contains coarse language.
I went to law school right here downtown. I've lived in Chicago my whole life.
Lawyer Eric Connolly is preparing for the biggest case of his life. He's taking on Rupert Murdoch's Fox News. Truth is about to go on trial in America, and Eric Connolly has written his opening statement.
The earth is round. 2 + 2 = 4. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris won the 2020 election for President and Vice President of the United States. The election was not stolen, rigged, or fixed. These are facts. They are demonstrable and irrefutable.
And what about the fact of taking on Rupert Murdoch's Fox News?
It's a David versus Goliath, and they certainly are Goliath.
This is a very big moment. This is a major fraud in our nation. We will win this, and as far as I'm concerned, we already have won it.
When the facts didn't suit Donald Trump, he simply made up his own. After November the 3rd, Trump ramped up his stolen election lies, and Fox News helped him spread them.
Breaking news this morning on the software that President Trump says was weaponized against him.
That's their expertise, how to fix elections.
For weeks after the election, high-profile Fox anchors peddled the lie that the election had been stolen.
And the president's lawyers alleging that American votes in a presidential election are actually counted in a foreign country. The media has no interest in any of this, but you and I do, as we should. Consequences be damned.
There has been a massive and coordinated effort to steal this election from we, the people of the United States of America, to delegitimize and destroy votes for Donald Trump.
How do you justify such a basic factual error?
I'm going to stop this interview. It's wholly inappropriate in the litigation that we're in.
But we're not even in the area of great dispute. These are the simple facts of who owns what.
No, we're done. I'm sorry.
These are facts.
Thank you very much.
But these are also very basic facts that we're dealing with.
Camera off. We're done.
That the Murdoch's Fox News joined the effort to spread lies and propaganda for Donald Trump was no surprise to the insiders who spoke to us.
Rupert Murdoch today is doing direct harm to my country, and it bewilders me that there's no mechanism to stop him. I am not in favor of censorship of ideas. I'm in favor of combating lies.
Fox certainly has participated in the destruction of democracy by promoting the types of things that Donald Trump did. Now, that's a pox on Fox.
Get out! Get out! Get out! Get out!
The poison of Trump's lies, widely spread, widely believed, and cynically used by politicians, drove the raging mob that invaded the Capitol on January the 6th. Congress has finally begun investigating the actions of the disgraced former president around the January 6th insurrection. But Trump's staunchest media allies will face no serious scrutiny here. The second part of our Four Corners special will focus on the role of the powerful Murdoch cable news network in the critical period after the 2020 election, when Fox News hosts embraced and spread the big lie.
Yeah, you are. You're right there. It's your own name.
I got it.
Okay, you are on bus 2.
There it is.
Where?
Right there.
Oh, yeah, right here.
Yes, there it is. Perfect. It's 4.
You're on bus 2.
It's Saturday morning in Strongsville, Ohio, and buses fill up with happy pilgrims, anxious to see their political messiah.
That's right, Trump won.
Go Trump! Go Trump! Yay! Go Trump!
Good morning, Strongsville. Who's ready for a Trump rally?
Party time!
Oh, there will be an after-rally party.
It pays to remember that 74 million Americans voted for Trump in 2020. Here, local volunteers like Shannon Burns are determined to keep his movement alive. How does Donald Trump still get a big crowd to come out and see him? He lost.
Well, he may not be in the office, but I don't concede that he lost. Significant turnout operation. He's got quite the outfit on.
America may have a Democratic president in the White House, but as far as these people are concerned, Donald Trump is still their president. And Donald Trump himself is back on the road again, still saying he never lost the election in 2020 and vowing revenge on Republican traitors who argue against it.
He did not lose. The evidence will soon be revealed that he did not lose this election.
And why are you going to see him today?
We love him. He wasn't a politician before, and I think that's why most people relate to him.
And you? What's making you go today?
Because I love him, and he's for real.
What do you want him to say today? What do you want to hear from him?
That he's coming back, because he didn't lose the election. They stole it.
We want him back. We need Trump. He's awesome.
Trump is the president. Sorry. He is.
Amen.
Trump is
He
the president.
is the president now.
That's what makes you say that? What makes you say that?
Because I already know. I know he's the president. All this is... He's the president. He's the president. This is all fake. This, yeah.
They didn't reach these conclusions on their own. There's plenty of propaganda to feed their beliefs. But former Fox News insiders level blame at the powerful organization they worked for.
For all of the other smaller conservative news outlets that are out there that were promoting the big lie, Fox News was the biggest promoter because they had the biggest platform. They had the biggest megaphone.
Fox is more responsible than most media outlets because Fox had the opportunity to use its position to tell the truth for the good of the country and failed to use the power and resources that it had to stand up to Donald Trump.
Trump caught on. He caught on with the Fox audience. And so it became a self-licking ice cream cone where you get great ratings because of Trump.
If we really want to honor our troops and support them, pass the defense budget.
For 10 years, Ralph Peters was a Fox News strategic analyst. His analysis now is damning of Fox founder and owner Rupert Murdoch.
My country gave him so much. And how did he repay that? By cynically backing Donald Trump. Fox has carved out a market among the people from whom I emerged, among the people with whom my coal mining ancestors worked. And he's turned them into an angry lumpen proletariat. These are inherently decent people who are the kind of people that join the military, that do the really crummy jobs to make our country go. The Fox I joined did represent those people, did speak to those people. It was reflecting their views, but over the years, it became a shaper of their views, deforming their views, corrupting their views, in pursuit of what? More power and money.
Trump's camp followers were here early. I spotted a rising dark star in Congress, QAnon maven Georgia Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Can I take a selfie with you real quick? Yeah, you should be in the press pool.
Inspired by Trump, the Congresswoman is testing the waters for a presidential run.
Trump and Marjorie, 2024.
Her loud advocacy for guns, bigotry, and the stolen election lie makes her a big celebrity here. Also here is Mike Lindell, stolen election conspiracist and CEO of MyPillow, then one of Fox News' biggest advertisers.
100% they showed the real total was Donald Trump 80 million and Biden 68 million. This election was the biggest crime in history.
Thank you.
Save America, I hear you.
You could write this off as a crazy sideshow, but thousands of people kept flooding in. And mounting Trump won chants hours ahead of the ringmaster's arrival.
Say does that star-spangled banner
First the anthem,
wave.
Then the nutty tuning fork guy.
This is the truth resonating in America.
Dr. Douglas Frank claims to have cracked the algorithm used to steal the election.
By inflating the registration databases, it gives you a credit line of false ballots you can pump into the system.
He's a science teacher at a Cincinnati high school.
During the election, our machines and our systems are hacked and tracked. Their votes are manipulated, votes are moved around.
Election officials, court and fact-checkers have rejected his claims. But in this field in Ohio, he's the wizard with numbers that prove Trump's case.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 45th President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump!
Thank you. Well, I want to thank Ohio for the incredible turnout. That's thousands of people trying to get in. At the very first rally of the 2022 election, we're going to take back the House, we're going to take back the Senate.
For 90 minutes, Trump whipped up the crowd with his own interpretation of the big lie.
The 2020 presidential election was rigged. We won the election in a landslide. The election was the lie. That was the big lie. You know, they talk about the big lie. And they know it, and they don't want to talk about it.
With almost absolute control of his party, Trump intends to take the big lie all the way to 2024.
You know, I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends, great people, and patriots, and they love me, and everything is good. They say, President, don't look back, look forward. You're leading in every poll. You're going to win the election so big in 24. Don't look back. And you know what I say? You have to look back. You have to look back. We won the election in 2020. Who the hell knows what's going to be in 2024? We won't even have a country left. We're not going to have a country left.
Closeted in moneyed New York, Fox News is culturally as far away from the working folk of rural Ohio as you can get. The Murdoch-owned and operated cable giant is no longer running Donald Trump's rallies live. But it's President Trump's hold on them before and after the 2020 election that's under scrutiny and legal challenge. So who should be held accountable for the assault on truth, especially the stolen election lies? Well, certainly Trump himself, but we've also seen what happens when America's #1 news network abandons its social contract to tell the truth. So how did that happen? How did its owners and managers allow its presenters to become propagandists working to undermine the American democratic system? While we were filming, one of Fox News' celebrity propagandists walked out from her studio. Former judge Jeanine Pirro was so closely aligned with Trump, she made a guest appearance at one of his rallies.
She has got viewership like you wouldn't believe. She's my friend, and she's your friend, Justice Jeanine.
You've got to make sure you get out there tomorrow if you haven't voted yet. Everyone you know, your grandmother, your cousin, your kids, even your next door neighbor, get them out to vote for Donald Trump.
She's one of the Fox anchors being personally sued over the false claim that two voting machine companies, Dominion and Smartmatic, helped steal the election.
And the president's lawyers alleging that American votes in a presidential election are actually counted in a foreign country. These are serious allegations. But the media has no interest in any of this. But you and I do, as we should.
Her propaganda for Trump doesn't seem to have dented Judge Jeanine's popularity.
Thank you again.
From Australia, I just wanted to ask you, do you still think that Dominion and Smartmatic stole the election from President Trump?
I'm much easier. Would you mind taking a picture?
What's the answer? Fox security quickly appeared with their own questions.
Just say, if you are who you say you are, why are you not being cooperative? You're with the press, right? We're a press agency, so we're being cooperative. Why you can't be cooperative?
I don't have to tell you what I'm doing or who I am, because I'm standing here in a public place and I'm filming, and you don't own the building. You don't own the right to the image of the building. Perhaps it was this moment that finally put paid to my request to interview the current Fox CEO, Lachlan Murdoch.
I don't tell journalists what to say or what to write. That's not my role.
The Murdochs have always tried to distance themselves from the editorial decisions on their most controversial platforms. But in 2018, Lachlan made a revealing admission.
What I do running a media organization is obviously work closely with the managers of those newsrooms and with the managers of those newspapers. And it's important that they get the positioning and the messaging right.
The Murdoch positioning on Donald Trump began just a month before the Republican Party nominated him to run for president. The aspiring president flew across the Atlantic to his Scottish golf course.
He takes this precious moment out of his campaign to make sure that he's got the backing of one of the most powerful media moguls in the world. He takes the time to go to Scotland in order to kiss the ring of Rupert Murdoch.
The former Trump skeptic willingly climbed aboard the presidential golf cart.
Rupert has always wanted access to an American president.
So what does he get in terms of the level of access?
Oh, it's enormously successful. Donald Trump is on the phone to Rupert Murdoch multiple times a week, sometimes every day. He is one of the top 5 advisors to Donald Trump. Rupert managed to have the kind of access to an American president that very few people have achieved historically.
Rupert Murdoch had done the positioning. His Fox News would now do the Trump messaging.
When you hear people refer to Fox News as, quote, state TV, how does that make you feel? Like, yeah, we're behind the right guy.
Because I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. And I don't think any media organization should be behind an individual, right? You should never get behind an individual, because individuals can be fallible, right?
The view from inside the network was that throughout the Trump presidency, Fox News bound itself entirely to a fallible individual.
Trump was intent on programming the network and ultimately succeeded in his own way, right?
Fox certainly has participated in the destruction of democracy by promoting the types of things that Donald Trump did. Now, that's a pox on Fox.
The green room over the last several years into the Trump administration, when I left, the guests got more and more bizarre, more distasteful. The green room started to be like the bar scene in the first Star Wars film. And these people are freaks. And then you realize you're one of the freaks.
What do you mean by freaks?
People with no qualifications, who could not even speak cogently, who could only speak the lines they'd memorized, praising Trump as though he were a heathen god that had to be appeased with slavish rhetoric.
No amount of slavish rhetoric could save Trump from losing the 2020 election.
What is this happening here? Why is Arizona blue? Did we just call it?
On election night, there was a rupture in the Fox-Trump relationship.
There's a check mark.
Fox News was the first network to call the critical state of Arizona for Joe Biden, and Trump treated it as a personal betrayal.
Time out. This is a big development.
The Fox News channel should have been proud of being right and should have said, this is it. This is how it is.
The Arizona call was a moment when Fox realized how much power Trump really had.
Trump attacked Fox relentlessly. They forgot what made them successful, what got them there, he tweeted. They forgot the golden goose. The network's primetime ratings dropped.
The audience was punishing them. Their own audience that they had courted and created and built over these many years was leaving them in droves.
Coming up, we have even more evidence of suspicious ballot counting, whistleblower accounts of what has happened behind the scenes, Republican observers being blocked from monitoring vote counting.
In an effort to win back Trump supporters, key Fox anchors began telling them what they wanted to hear.
Tonight, we got a busy night tonight.
The network gave voice repeatedly to people putting forward a preposterous notion that the election had been stolen.
Rupert and Lachlan had to hold on to Fox, and Fox is its audience. So they were allowing things to go on the air that obviously in retrospect were incredibly damaging.
Fox was very important for the message.
New York lawyer Howard Kleinhendler was part of the chaotic legal team brought together on Trump's behalf to challenge the election result.
Fox, at least at the outset, was the only mainstream media outlet that was at least allowing this narrative that was emanating from what experts were telling us. That was the only outlet that was allowing that message to go forward at the time.
Thank you for talking with us in the first interview since Election Day. Mr. President, you've said many times that this election was rigged, that there was much fraud, and the facts are on your side. Let's start there.
Trump went on air with one of his favorite apologists with a fully fledged conspiracy about how vote-counting machines had been used to steal the election.
We had glitches where they moved thousands of votes from my account to Biden's account, and these are glitches. So they're not glitches, they're theft, they're fraud, absolute fraud.
In Chicago, Eric Connolly is preparing for his big defamation case against Rupert Murdoch's Fox News and three of the network's stars, Maria Bartiromo, Jeanine Pirro, and Lou Dobbs. His client is Smartmatic, one of the two voting machine companies accused by the former president and his lackeys of a massive election fraud.
The basic story that was being broadcast was that Smartmatic participated in a conspiracy to fix and rig the election by switching votes from President Trump to now President Joe Biden.
This whole fraud is an insult against this country.
And the company counting it is not Dominion. It's Smartmatic, which is a company that was founded in 2005 in Venezuela for the specific purpose of fixing elections. That's their expertise, how to fix elections.
Smartmatic is suing for $2.7 billion US. The other voting machine company, Dominion, is suing Fox News separately. They're demanding $1.6 billion US, a total of $4.3 billion. Eric Connolly says the list of provable lies told about Smartmatic is extensive.
It really did go from Smartmatic was founded by Hugo Chavez. They are funded by corrupt dictators. They conspired to rig this election. They own Dominion, or they control Dominion. Their software is used by Dominion. Their equipment is used to rig elections. It's always been used to rig elections. They send votes overseas. They have backdoors that allow security breaches. That's where it evolved into. And none of that is factually accurate.
Now, Fox is arguing that all they did was present. Eric Connolly's key exhibits in the case are videos of Fox News interviews with two Trump lawyers, Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani, who are also targeted in the suit.
Well, first of all, the machines can be hacked, but it's far worse than that, Lou. Dominion is a company that's owned by another company called Smartmatic. You're going to be astonished when I tell you how it was formed. It was formed really by three Venezuelans who were very close to the dictator Chavez of Venezuela.
I do remember this, and literally everything he just said was not accurate.
Fox says it's unquestionably newsworthy that President Trump was considering challenging the election results. It's their job to report that, to host debates that talk about that.
It's absolutely newsworthy. Challenges to the outcome of the presidential election are newsworthy. I'm not contesting that. What we are contesting is that when you do that, when you are doing that coverage, you can't intentionally lie about it.
Thank you, Rudy. What we are really dealing with here and uncovering more by the day is the massive influence of communist money through Venezuela, Cuba, and likely China.
Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani became the super spreaders of Trump's big lie. Sidney Powell, a former federal prosecutor, was best known as the lawyer for the former General Michael Flynn, the national security advisor, convicted of lying to the FBI and pardoned by Trump.
They designed and developed the Smartmatic and Dominion programs and machines that include a controller module that allows people to log in and manipulate the vote even as it's happening.
I will be glad to put forward on this broadcast whatever evidence you have, and we'll be glad to do it immediately.
Awesome.
We'll work overnight.
Lou Dobbs is putting his credibility behind her. He's telling his audience members, listen, you believe me, you should believe her because she is this great lawyer.
How do you demonstrate that there is a conspiracy at work here, that there is a coordinated action between the presenters and their guests?
Certainly, once you get into discovery, you'll see the communications that took place between Mr. Giuliani and Ms. Powell, as well as the fax anchors. But what we were able to tell from just watching the videos themselves is a level of coordination before they were getting on the air.
In the case of Smartmatic, a simple, crucial fact was missing from the Fox News coverage. The company accused of orchestrating a nationwide election fraud had a single contract in the 2020 election to provide a new voting system in LA County.
The only state that they participated in the 2020 election in was California and Los Angeles County specifically, nowhere else.
And how easy would it have been to establish that as a fact?
You know, I'm not an expert on Googling, but I think it takes about 30 seconds to Google that.
We went to Texas, to the affluent, mostly white and mostly godly suburb of Highland Park in Dallas, to meet Trump loyalist Sidney Powell.
Sure. Oh, yeah. He's a big ear guy.
Let's get a few simple facts straight. In how many states were Smartmatic machines and software used in the 2020 election?
I don't even know the exact numbers.
But you were making some big statements, very dramatic, critical statements about Smartmatic. You must have known what their involvement was in the election.
Oh, you'd have to go look at our complaint with respect to the 4 states that we filed legal complaints in to get the details of that.
A Google search would have shown you that Smartmatic was operating in one single county in California.
Well, I'm saying I think their involvement's probably a lot bigger than that.
What research or fact-checking did you do at the time to find out what Smartmatic's actual involvement in the election was?
Do you work for Smartmatic?
You've made an allegation against Smartmatic that they stole a presidential election. I think it's incumbent on both of us to know what Smartmatic's involvement was. It seems like a pretty foundational fact.
I mean, I'm confused right now about why you're here.
Because you made a series of very strong allegations against Smartmatic and against Dominion, containing many errors of fact. Do you accept the fact now that the company that you accused of stealing a national election only operated in one county in LA in California? One county, one state?
No, I'm not prepared to accept that fact. I think Smartmatic's involvement was far more significant than that. Do I think they're trying to minimize their involvement? Of course I do.
You said that Smartmatic owns Dominion. How do you justify such a basic factual error?
I'm going to stop this interview. It's wholly inappropriate in the litigation that we're in.
But we're not even in the area of great dispute. These are the simple facts of who owns what.
No, we're done. I'm sorry.
These are facts.
When we are in litigation against me personally,
I understand that, but we're
billions.
Yes,
of dollars.
I understand that these are very serious allegations.
Thank you very much.
But these are also very basic facts that we're dealing with.
Camera off. We're done.
After some discussion, Ms. Powell agreed to answer more questions.
I'm highly skeptical of how long this is going to last.
Claiming her legal issues prevented her from talking about the voting machine companies. All of the organisations who had the responsibility to check the nature of this election and to verify its results say there was no fraud.
That's the propaganda they're putting out. I disagree with that completely, and we have and will produce additional evidence that shows otherwise.
What you're describing is a massive countrywide fraud involving the FBI, the DOJ, the Department of Homeland Security, the organisations who certify elections, and on, all the way up to the Attorney General, and thousands of local election officials. Are you saying that thousands of Americans participated in a fraud?
I am saying that thousands of Americans had some role in it, knowingly or unknowingly. It was essentially a bloodless coup where they took over the presidency of the United States without a single shot being fired.
Who's they in that sentence?
I don't know who all that they are. I would really like to know the answer to that. But it's a significant number of they, and they knew exactly what they were doing, and they planned it for at least 3 years. This was no accident.
Do you ever hear yourself and think that it sounds ridiculous?
No, I know myself very well. I've been in me a long time. I know my reputation. I know my level of integrity.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight.
Some anchors at Fox didn't buy into the big lie. While sceptical of the election result, Fox star Tucker Carlson drew the line at Sidney Powell.
She never demonstrated that a single actual vote was moved illegitimately by software from one candidate to another. Not one.
There was a clear division inside the network. This was a house divided, right?
Eric Shawn, an old-school Fox News anchor, questioned the stolen election narrative.
Did a Dominion machine change one vote from Trump to Biden?
No, it is not physically possible for our machines to switch votes from one candidate to the other.
Shawn broadcast a warning of the consequences of the stolen election conspiracy.
What do these type of allegations do to the integrity and credibility and belief in our election system? What do they do to the very foundation of the republic that we hold so dear?
The very system that inspires the confidence that we have and the love of our country is under attack through these allegations, and it is all our obligation to defend the truth.
You've said many times.
But the worst offenders at Fox kept pushing the big lie for more than 3 weeks.
To rig this election.
On December the 10th, Eric Connolly sent a retraction demand to Fox News. A week later, Fox broadcast statements from an election expert repudiating its own coverage.
In our weeks-long look into election integrity, we have heard concerns about both voting machines and voting software, specifically a software company called Smartmatic.
Have you seen any evidence that Smartmatic software was used to flip votes anywhere in the U.S. in this election?
I have not seen any evidence that Smartmatic software was used to delete, change, alter anything related to vote tabulation.
I don't know if there's any better confirmation that there was no factual basis for what they were saying at the time.
Fox has rejected the cases against them, saying Fox News covered the election in the highest tradition of the First Amendment.
I think those lawsuits are very serious. There may be some culpability there. I just think about the impact that it's had on the American people, and people will say, well, it's up to them to be able to make up their own minds. Yes, but it's also up to the morality of news operations to provide factual information.
Is it immoral not to?
I believe it's immoral not to, yes. I believe that it's proof that opinion television has gone in a completely, far right direction.
Some of Fox's best-known anchors had put their credibility behind the big lie, adding to the storm of outrage that was brewing in American households. On January the 6th, that storm burst over the Capitol.
You have the most stunning event in modern American history, a siege on the Capitol, an insurrection, violent riots, and Fox is on the wrong side of that.
Not since the assassination of Lincoln had there been really an attempt to decapitate the government like that. It is essential to know what Donald Trump's role was on January 6th. Was he cheering it on? What was going on in order to ensure we never elect a person like that again and that we never accept a person doing anything like that again, the most powerful position arguably in the entire world?
Adam Kinzinger is one of 2 Republicans on the House committee investigating the assault on the Capitol.
One woman in a pink MAGA shirt yelled, "You hear that, guys? This nigger voted for Joe Biden." Then the crowd, perhaps around 20 people, joined in screaming, "Boo, fucking nigger."
I never expected a day to be quite as emotional for me as it has been.
Kinzinger says Fox News and its owners, Rupert and Lachlan Murdoch, also have questions to answer.
If you own the network, certainly you have to make a decision. What do I want this network to be based on? What do I want it to do? Is it going to be a straight news source? Is it going to be opinion? Is it going to push lies? Is it not? I think when you have anchors pushing lies as facts, it's really dangerous.
In the aftermath of the Capitol assault, when armed soldiers were still on the streets of Washington, James Murdoch gave an interview saying, "The sacking of the Capitol is proof positive that what we thought was dangerous is indeed very, very much so. Those outlets that propagate lies to their audience have unleashed insidious and uncontrollable forces that will be with us for years."
James is essentially saying, "I told you so." He's looking at what happened on January 6th and saying, this is what I was warning you about. This is what I was trying to avoid.
Fox News sent Four Corners a statement about earlier inquiries into January the 6th. It said, congressional hearings and the Biden Justice Department not only did not implicate Fox, but other media companies were cited as platforms for inciting and coordinating the Capitol riots. Fox's surrender to Trump has had enormous consequences for the Murdochs. It split the Murdoch family and ended Rupert's plans for succession.
He blamed this, really painful realization on Donald Trump. Donald Trump had split his family.
In the end, the patriarch sold off the greatest treasures of his global media empire to Disney. His 2 sons at odds to the end.
James has been struggling inside his father's empire for years. And with this, James is finally freed from the yoke of his father's business and inheritance. Lachlan gets the leftovers of the company, the television stations, Fox Sports, and most importantly, Fox News.
The network Lachlan Murdoch took over faces profound questions about its integrity and an existential threat from the legal cases.
Now that you have a much smaller operation that is primarily built around Fox News, it's a disastrous financial threat because it's an existential threat.
I don't really think that it's a danger to the company.
Why not?
Because this is America. That's not what happens. What happens in Australia and what happens in the UK is a different universe when it comes to the free press. That's why Rupert Murdoch is in America, not in Australia. In some respects, media enterprises have an extreme degree of invulnerability.
The US Capitol is recovering from the shock of the insurrection and the catastrophic winter of the pandemic. The city is returning to the normal rhythms of life. Those who lived under the threat of Donald Trump's vengeful power have a warning.
We've gotten lazy with democracy. We've assumed it will always hold. I think this shows that it really has to be a contract between people, like an understanding that this is how we're going to do it. My biggest concern now is division in this country and an acceptance that the rule of law is only based on who has power at the time.
If we don't find in the United States a healthier way to run the news business, we're going to fall apart. This is killing us. We saw the consequences on January 6th. We are rapidly, radically eroding public confidence in institutions for the most rotten of reason, which is profit and power.